relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by the Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association of British Columbia, Tony Gioventu, the province's Condo Smarts columnist. Column number 500 just hit the streets of the province a week or two ago. Congratulations, Tony G. That's quite an accomplishment.
That's pretty amazing. Who would have thought when we started doing this back in 2002 there'd be 500 issues that we could write about? And I have stacks to keep going for years.
Of all of the topics that you've written about, and when you got 500 columns under your belt, you've repeated yourself a few times. What is the one subject that comes up the most, that people keep bugging you the most for more information about?
Money.
Oh, okay.
It's all about money. The most common thread in most emails is about deferred maintenance and repairs not getting done in the building because the Stratas simply don't have enough money, enough resources to be able to meet their obligations. People homeowners are struggling with high real estate prices,
sure,
and so they really struggle against increased condo fees. And it really leaves the strata corporations in a hard situation. Their maintenance and operations budgets don't have enough money to meet all the annual requirements. They're faced with deductibles for insurance claims. They're faced with cost overruns, and they don't put in hardly any money in the reserve funds. So most of the disputes have to do about money. So it's kind of like a normal family in some ways.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's fighting about money, but it's generally about the lack of money for a lot of properties because they're doing a lot of band-aid target repairs. What can we fix now? What
sure,
can we fix then?
Yep.
Or they're doing things over a phased period of time. Consumers only have so many financial resources they can go to. At some point, they're tapped out, and so it spawns a lot of disputes.
Also joining Tony and me in studio this program is Wendy Atcheson, who is the Vice President and Registrar with the BC Homeowner Protection Office. And Wendy, just further to what Tony was telling us about years and years of interacting with condominium and strata owners from all over the province, the numero uno issue being money. How about on your side of things from the Homeowner Protection Office? Is money or lack thereof the critical issue most days?
Well, absolutely, because what is of benefit to the homeowners that have home warranty insurance through our system is that if a defect does come up, they don't have to pay for it. It's going to be covered by insurance. It's not going to come out of their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't have home warranty insurance in the old days, you could go bankrupt. You could lose your home if you had a big problem with your home, whether it be a structural defect, the building envelope problems of the past.
Yes. Well, I remember building a home in the 80s in White Rock, and the builder saying, advising strongly that we take the new home warranty protection back in those days, but said at the same time we didn't have to. I couldn't imagine not taking it, and we did, of course, but I guess at that time it was optional. It's important, if there's no other takeaway information from today's show, that every new home in British Columbia now comes with a mandatory warranty attached. Is that not the case?
That's right. There are some exemptions for folks who build their own single-family home. Certainly for condos, though, there really aren't any exemptions. There doesn't have to be home warranty insurance on rental buildings, but for strata condos, yes, they should have new home warranty insurance. And in order to find out if that's the case,
right,
what the policy is, when it starts, who your provider is, we actually have an online tool called the New Homes Registry. People can go to that, fill in their civic address of the building, and find out exactly what the policy is.
Now, you've identified your website for the Homeowner Protection Office as hpo.bc.ca.
That's right.
Is that the website where you can also go and take this quiz at the same time?
Yep, you can go right online to that website and check it out.
Okay. Tony's website is a fabulous place for people looking for information about strata and condo living. It's CHOA, the Condominium Homeowners Association, CHOA.bc.ca. Okay. and two terrific websites. And you know, as more and more of us rearrange our lives, and in the case of many of us, downsize out of a suburban multiple family kind of a situation, or a multi-member family situation, into a place for two, now that all the other members have left, and there's no need to maintain all of that huge property and all that work, we downsize into smaller lifestyle choices. And more important than not, and Tony, this is something you cannot repeat enough, and I'm going to get you to do it again, in terms of due diligence, doing the homework, and learning about what buying a strata versus a standalone residential arrangement. It's an enormous amount of difference, and there's a lot of homework that needs to be done.
Well, and I think the principal difference we always talk about is that when you buy a detached home that is not in a strata property, your home is essentially your castle.
You bet.
Right? You buy in a strata, your home is not your castle. Your home in a strata is part of the castle, and it may be over the moat, might be over the kitchen, might be over the armory. Who knows where it's going to be located, but your home in a strata is not your castle. So you are collectively joined together with all of the liabilities of the community for all the common expenses, for all the maintenance and repair obligations, all the lawsuits, everything that happens in that strata, you're going to be collectively joined to. And so that's the big difference, is it's no longer about you being able to do what you want. You know, if you're a hobby carpenter and you live in a single-family home somewhere,
and you can go out in the garage at any old time and fire up the equipment.
Go out to that woodshop cave and you do all your jobs and spend your days doing that.
Right.
If you think you're going to move into a townhouse complex and convert your garage into a carpentry shop and a woodworking shop and not have the neighbors complain, it's not likely going to happen. And that's, you know, there are a lot of misunderstandings. I think if you one big misunderstanding that people make is they really don't think about what their lifestyle is before they buy into a condo. You know, if you do want, there are certainly great options for townhouses and bareland stratas that if you do want to, you know, live in a way that you can have your workshop and those types of things,
right,
find a community where you can do that.
Right.
There are condos out there that you can do that. But don't think you're going to take your free, independent lifestyle and drag it into a condo, because if it encroaches on other people's rights, there'll be a lot of friction.
Now, Wendy, I'm going to ask you just because you live in a strata. You live in the city of Vancouver in a smallish strata operation. So just as a member of a person living in a strata, what is the most common source of friction between that community that you live in?
Well, we actually have a really good group of neighbors.
You
There's only
lucky
10
person.
of us
Right,
in our
right.
strata.
Okay.
But it's amazing what does come up. You know, the strangest things come up that people dispute over. We actually painted our condo a couple of years ago, and the amount of discussions and friction that went on about what color to paint the condo was quite surprising. But we are lucky that we're all pretty committed to making sure we maintain our strata. It's a townhouse complex.
But you see, there's Tony's point. In a nutshell, if you're in your own home and you want to paint the place purple, knock yourself out. If you live in a strata like Wendy does, and the next door neighbor wants to go purple, that's not going to happen. And it's the whole matter of diplomacy and shared common space, right?
Please. Change to purple. How about meetings that go on for 4 hours because they're arguing over 5 different shades of white?
I guess.
You know, that's the challenge that a lot of the communities have. I think if the strata communities organize themselves well enough and administer their properties well, a lot of these issues don't rise to the surface. And really, when you think about how many units there are, over 600,000 units in the province, and you see how many real disputes actually come up to the surface, you have to say overwhelmingly that strata living works very well.
Okay, let's talk about the evolution of a project. Let's have me back going down Kingsway, one of my favorite backdoor routes to the city. And there's that big plot of land I've been wondering for months what they're going to do with. And now the sign's up, and now there are fences around the property, and there's coming soon, and there's these 2 gorgeous-looking towers. Now those people, Wendy, have already been to Victoria and received permits from your agency, the Homeowner Protection Office. So they've got all their paperwork, presumably, is in order. That's why they're now able to advertise. At what point can they actually start to pre-sell these units? Does a spade have to go into the ground, or can they just do it with a trailer on the site and a little scale model in an office? How does that work?
Well, they can actually pre-sell pretty early on. What they can't do is start construction, and they certainly can't start transferring the actual titles to any of the units earlier in the process. So the developer's licensed with us. Any general contractors are licensed with us, and they've registered their home with us and obtained the home warranty insurance from the third-party insurance company.
And that's part of registering. They have to come to you with an insurer already lined up to go, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's when we'd have it on the new homes registry.
Okay.
At that point. It'd be good to go. Then they could get their building permit from the city.
And now, Tony, we've talked a little bit in the past about pre-sales, and that gets a bit dodgy from time to time, doesn't it? Because there's still an element of risk at play here, isn't there?
Well, and a pre-sale isn't really a pre-sale. What it is it's a contractual agreement where we've agreed that for the terms and conditions in the contract, when the unit becomes available, we will buy the unit. So we've given a down payment that's held in trust.
Right.
And those funds are held by the developer, and in exchange for that, we now have the right to purchase the unit for the terms and conditions in the pre-sale. And that can happen long before the warranty is ever issued or before the construction starts. The downside of pre-sales, of course, is what if you do give the deposit and the project doesn't go forward?
Right.
Well,
right.
Your deposit is returned back to you in accordance with the contract. But what if you do give the deposit, the project goes forward, but you look closely at the pre-sales agreement and suddenly realize the developer, based on cost of construction and whatnot, could charge up to 15 or 20% higher for the actual finishing price of the project. So the pre-sales are a much longer discussion, but they're not a sales agreement. They are a contractual agreement that binds you into the obligation to purchase the condo when it's ready for that title to be transferred. So it happens long before the construction process.
Lots more to come on this edition of Talk About Strata from Quay Pacific and AM 650, and we'll be right back after this quick timeout.
There's still more ahead with Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.